Yo, welcome to this video. My name is Draft Raw, and if you have been following me, or if this is your first time of you watching me, I have been doing a special series. It is a 32 for 32 series. That is 32 NFL team drafts for 32 straight days, and if you can tell by the title, this will be about the Tennessee Titans, the leaders of the AFC South for the 2019/2020 season. Now, to give you a quick rundown of what I've already done, I'm just going to tell y'all, I've done every division in the NFL except for the AFC South, which I'm starting today in this particular video. I'll be doing the Titans, then I'll be going over to the Texans, and then the Colts, and then last the Jaguars. But in today's video, we're going to talk about the Titans, so without further ado, let's just get straight into it. With the very first pick, the Tennessee Titans decided to select offensive tackle from Georgia, Isaiah Wilson. Now, if I look at my notes, Isaiah Wilson is a big mauler, nimble, with great length. One of the biggest question marks is there a chance that he could actually switch over and swing over to left tackle? Now, I think that he's natural as a right tackle, and what I mean when I say that is this is not a situation like a Jedrick Wells, where Jedrick Wells is like so smooth that he's just like a natural fit to try to go over to left tackle or not be a right tackle. I feel as though with Wilson, I think that he does have a chance to possibly being a left tackle in the NFL. Now, for the Tennessee Titans, him being a left tackle is probably not going to happen because they got Taylor Lewan. But this is a situation where if Taylor was to get hurt, hypothetically, God forbid that actually happens, I think Wilson has that ability to swing over and actually play that position. But I think that his more natural position will be on the right side. I don't think that his feet are as like quick as some of the other top tackles in this draft or just tackles in the NFL, but his feet are good enough to a point where he can stay at that tackle position. I don't know who is the starting right tackle for the Tennessee Titans right now. I'm not a fan of the Titans, but I can say this. They're going to have to watch out for their job because Isaiah Wilson is coming. Like I said, it's just a more natural position of him being at the tackle position. And he's one of those type of players that I think can be a Pro Bowler / All-Pro type of tackle, just like a Lane Johnson for the Philadelphia Eagles on the right side. With the very second pick, they decided to select in the second round Christian Fulton, LSU cornerback. Now, Christian is an all-around corner. He can cover, he can tackle, he plays the ball somewhat. And when I say somewhat, we're going to get into that. Man coverage, zone coverage, put him in press. I think that you can actually even see him in the slot position trying to cover. What's so great about Christian Fulton is all those stuff that I named. Now, the biggest con that he has is the lack of interceptions. He doesn't have many. I think that in his whole college career he has like 3 or 4. And that's like three years of starting, which is pretty bad. So when I watched the tape, I noticed something. Is that it's not that he wasn't a gambler to try to get interceptions or anything like that. One of the problems is that it just seemed like he wasn't trying to get the interception in a way. And not to try to bang on him, but it was a lot of times where he was just going after the pass deflection. And maybe that had something to do with maybe he was just a tad bit late to get there. Maybe that's the reason why he actually dropped to near the end of the second round. Just being just a tad bit late. I felt as though speed was good, hips, feet, and everything, all of the cover skills, like I said, the tackling, just everything he had. It's just the lack of interceptions was a big key, especially for me to call him one of the top corners. Now, overall, I definitely thought he was one of the top cover corners, period. Guys like Damon Arnett I actually felt was a really good cover corner. Obviously, Jeff Okudah, and you got the C.J. Hendersons or whatever. I thought Christian Fulton was right up there with those guys. I felt as though he probably should have been a first rounder. And for a second time within like the last 3 years. The Tennessee Titans have actually got value with their first 2 picks. Remember a couple of years ago, Rashawn Evans and Harold Landry were drafted in the first and second round. And this past draft, in the 2020 draft, they got Isaiah Wilson and Christian Fulton, who I believe are first round picks. So it is what it is, but the lack of interceptions is probably the reason why he dropped, but he's a better player than the lack of interceptions that he has. With the third pick, they decided to go the running back route and select Darrick Evans from Appalachian State. Darrington is... I'm a little up and down on this. While I watched his tape, he was pretty aggressive. You saw him, just the way he ran was pretty aggressive. Stiff arms, and just how he carried himself to try to burst through the hole. But he was like a natural one-cut running back. Something like what you will see with Derrick Henry. A lot of times you will see him, he hand the ball off and he's going to the right, and that one cut, he doesn't go all the way to the left, but he cuts it back up inside and he gets the big yardage. Darrick Evans is that type of running back. Now, he's not Derrick Henry, obviously. There's not a lot of guys that are Derrick Henry. We've only seen like Eddie George or like a freaking Brandon Jacobs are the closest thing that you can look at when it comes to a guy like a Derrick Henry. That's who Derrick Henry kind of reminds you of a little bit. But with Darrick Evans, it gives them to me a better number 2 running back, a guy that can complement Derrick Henry a little better, someone that still runs aggressively like a Henry, and then who's a natural one-cut running back. And I felt as though when I was watching the tape of Appalachian State, the offensive line wasn't that great, and so there were a lot of plays that were left on the field that if the offensive line just blocked a little bit better, he has bigger games, Darrick Evans. I think that he's a better running back than the story that you would see watching the tape. Because he showed on some plays where it was just you saw the speed, you saw the agility, you saw the power. It's just that you didn't see it as often, so it was hard to really gauge him. But there's a reason why the Tennessee Titans drafted him in the 3rd round ahead of some other players that could have got drafted at that point. But I thought that this was a solid pick for them. Like I said, a little up and down on the pick because I just don't know. I don't know if it was a vision problem or I definitely feel it was an offensive line problem, but I'm just not really, really sure. But I do think that it's a solid pick for the Tennessee Titans and someone that if Derrick Henry was to leave, you have a replacement in a way. Quotation mark, in a way. With the very next pick, they decided to go NC State defensive tackle Larell Herring. Do not like his tape. He only shows up versus lesser competition, and he's a gap shooter, and that's it. It's one of those things where it's just hard to really gauge him. He's probably would make a good 5 technique because I know the Tennessee Titans do run a 3-4. So it could work, but he's a 4-3 guy because he's more of a gap shooter type of player. There's a reason he was definitely a 5th round pick, but it's one of those things where when you go to a big school and you can't at least make big time plays versus other big time schools, it's a little concerning. I felt as though, like I said, against lesser competition, he was making plays, and that's just not good enough for me. With the very next pick in the 7th round, they decided to select quarterback Cole McDonald from Hawaii. This is what I wrote about Cole, so just bear with me. Trusting arm strength can hurt him. Some guys, they trust their arm so much that it can cause interceptions. It's like trying to fit the ball through a tight window, and they trust their arm strength to just get it there all the time, that their arm strength is not as strong as they thought it was, as they think it actually is. Doesn't step up in pocket. He's good between the hash marks in terms of his accuracy. That's huge because a guy like Lamar Jackson is very accurate between the hash marks, and you see what he did this past season. McDonald, who does have solid speed, that can bring an element, a little bit of an element of a runner. This could still be good for him in a system where like a Lamar Jackson have. It's not gonna be just as fast or quick as him, but it's something that could work for him. And the other great thing about him is that he likes to push the ball downfield. There was some stuff that I wasn't a big fan of him about, his arm strength, him not stepping up in the pocket, but his accuracy between the hash marks, on the sidelines actually wasn't as good. It was just between the hash marks. The simple fact is that he loved to push the ball down the field. He loved to make those big plays, big throws. And like I said, he had solid speed. He didn't have great speed, but he had speed that was very, very solid. And these are something that you can work on for a guy like him. I'm not saying he could be a starter, but to me, he was definitely draftable and could be a definitely really, really good backup for the Tennessee Titans for years. With the very next pick and their last pick, they decided in the 7th round to select Chris Jackson, cornerback, Marshall. Now, Chris is a physical but handsy corner. He's a willing tackler, which goes along with his physicalness. He likes to press guys at the line. That's where the physicalness comes from. But he can be a little handsy. The handsy also, with him being handsy, he needs to turn his head around. There was a lot of plays where he wasn't turning his head. And he got lucky sometimes where he was able to kind of, once the player caught the ball, he was able to kind of knock it out their hands or try to do everything he can to get the ball out of the receiver's hands. So there were situations where it was like that. But in the NFL, that's not going to always happen. And, in the competition that he was playing up against, you're not going to do that against, top NFL talent, these guys who have strong hands. And they're going to catch that ball, and you're not going to be able to knock it down all the time. So it's one of those things where he needs to work on that. He needs to be a better player about that. I think that he's a solid corner, but he just needs to get better at those two particular things, is not being so handsy and turning your head around. And I think that he can be a pretty darn good corner in this league. That was the very last pick for the Tennessee Titans. If you want to know about any future videos or videos I did in the past, please look in the description box below. Please comment if you want to say something about what I had to say about the Tennessee Titans and the players that they drafted. Please subscribe if you want to see more Draft Raw. Please hit that notification bell and hit all and not personalized to make sure you get all notifications. If you like this video, hit that like button and please share this video. Once again, my name is Draft Raw. I thank you Tennessee Titan fans for watching. Goodbye.